On today's show, the Cleveland Cavaliers actually won a basketball game. It really happened. But does that mean anything? We'll talk about it.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. Jake Stevens, as always, working the magic on the back end. Evan, the Cavs beat the Grizzlies, broke a 3-game losing streak. Did that win mean anything?
I mean, in the grand scheme of it, yes, just because now with Miami losing to Dallas, they are guaranteed to finish no lower than the 7th overall seed, which that'd be messy, Cleveland. But or no, they can't finish at 7. Miami, it's convoluted. But I will say this first half against the Grizzlies was very uninspiring, very blah basketball. I think the Cavs were kind of going through the motions. Jared Allen said that they seemed like they were a little bit in their own head just because of the losing streak and just how badly they played against, or how they melted down against the Clippers. And I think they just kind of hit a switch, or flip a switch rather, in the third quarter. And you saw maybe like in terms of impact, there's momentum there just because they're playing downhill. They're letting the defense kind of smother the very tapped out Grizzlies at that point. And I think Bickerstaff and the coaching staff did make the right adjustment too, and just having an extra man down low to prevent those second chance opportunities, because the Grizzlies were eating the Cavs a little bit on the offensive glass in the first half. But like just those small changes, and also the fact that the Cavs just played fast and like downhill, like that's a momentum builder. And I think like more than anything, like you kind of were tongue-in-cheeking it for the Cole Lynch opening, but getting a win is kind of nice after a pretty rough West Coast road trip, and just, several very frustrating losses on that road trip. Just to kind of, to quote you for a callback, I've been calling this back a lot lately. It's a palate cleanser. It's like the pickled ginger at a Japanese restaurant.
That's right.
Just to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit and allow you to shift your focus now to Friday, where at least you feel a little bit better about yourself now that you kind of found a little bit of normalcy, at least in that second half against Memphis. So yeah, in the minutia, grand scale stuff, yeah, there's some impact. There's some record stuff too, but I don't know if there's a ton of meat on this bone from this game, other than like Donovan Mitchell looked like himself out there, and that's a very positive step in the right direction for him.
Yeah, he looked better. I don't know if I'm not ready to say like he looked like himself, because he was 5 of 10 from 3. Didn't do a lot. And
correct myself. He looked more like himself. Like it's a step in the right direction. We talk about percentages. I'd say he's like 65, 70 still. Like you said, the shooting wasn't great, but go ahead.
On twos, from three it was good. On twos is where it's like, okay, like what are we doing here? I am officially, Evan, just in like, I need to see this team like look normal in the playoffs for me to like think any of this matters. Like I'm just there, because if you go back on the schedule, the last time the Cavs beat a team that is like was actually kind of good, or at least was like healthy, Indiana on March 18th. And if you want to say Indiana's like too blah free, okay, and it goes back to New Orleans on March 13th. Like they beat Philly on the 29th. That was pre-Embiid coming back. That took a crazy Niang game. That wasn't, I don't think, exactly like the best example of like a good team at that point in time. Philly certainly like makes sense and all that stuff, but they're starting 5 in that game.
Was Maxey in that game?
Yeah, Maxey had 16. Their starting 5 was Maxey, Lowry, Harris, Mo Bamba, and Kelly Oubre Jr. Like, I'm sorry, that's not a team that's not teaching me a lot. The wins the Cavs have had otherwise are a Utah Jazz team that is just like straight up diving, like falling off a mountain, and the Grizzlies, who were on the second out of a back-to-back and had 8 healthy players. Like, until the Cavs, like, is this maybe like a little bit unfair? Sure. But I think just with how bad things have been since the All-Star break, and just like, frankly, a lot of times they say stuff that just then is immediately refuted by the way they play the absolute next game. I don't take any of this seriously until we see them like look normal in the playoffs. And even then, it's just like, okay, we'll see. Like, I don't know what that's even going to look like at this point. And there still is not like real reason for optimism. Like, and I think we're just officially at the point in the year where I gotta wait. Like, particularly, I think coming off of that Clippers loss, which is, I mean, frankly, just was so embarrassing that like beating a really bad Grizzlies team doesn't exactly like. Yeah, that like this game is like the ginger is like on your plate and you know it's there, but like you haven't eaten it yet, and your breath is still like a little bit off as you're thinking about the next sushi you're gonna eat.
Yeah, I think maybe that, or like you're just grossed out by the color or something, or like you're picky. Maybe you shouldn't be at a Japanese restaurant to begin with, but okay, another example is smelling coffee beans. But either way, yeah, there's not a lot. I think I'm kind of like
it's like gum instead of brushing your teeth.
Yeah, I think, or gross example as like, you know, if you're like a teenage boy or something, like spraying on Axe body spray, and thinking like that is good enough for like cologne,
leaving gym class,
like
leaving
gym class, like that post gym class rank where you're like, showers aren't a thing in middle school, but if it was an option for prepubescent boys, you probably should just, take advantage. But either way, before this conversation gets any weirder, I think I'm kind of in the mentality like any progress is kind of progress for Cleveland at this juncture. Like, you want to just find the positive or find the good wherever you can, and at least there's some positive steps in the right direction. It's just, how do they play against Indiana on Friday? Like, Jared Allen compared that to a playoff-like game just because they could be a playoff matchup, and there is a lot of implications coming into that game on Friday, which we'll see how that goes, of course. But I mean, for now, like, there's not a lot. Like, they were really bad in the first half, and then they really turned it on in the third quarter, and after that, like, it was just kind of coasting from there. Like, 8 deep, that's all you really saw from it. Then you saw Pete Nance still not score a bucket, but I mean, still did stuff either way.
Yeah, I'm not sure Pete Nance is good.
No,
so
Jackson Flickinger pointed that out. He's just like, Pete Nance is yet to score a basket. He's like on 0 of 3 from the floor in his NBA career, which, hopefully, just can turn it around at some point, because it's what you'd want to do if you're a basketball player, I'd assume.
Yeah, look, so I'll just say this. Like, winning, good. The third quarter showed something. Like, they outscored them 30-16 in that quarter after a pretty bad second quarter. You'll take the wins or you can get them. You have a chance to get 49 wins, and you have like a soft end of the season. Maybe you can build some momentum. Maybe it is like enough for Mitchell to get right. I think I'm just feeling fully skeptical. And like, Evan, to your point about like them feeling positive, they should try to believe that. Like, they absolutely should try to be like, this is true. I just will not.
It's
get there.
a mental.
The
cynic on the outside looking in, yes, I agree. But
internally, I think it's just like it's just rational. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Like, on the outside looking in, you want to try and find some good with the bad whenever you can, I'd assume. And just kind of keep moving forward from there, of course. And yeah, I think the Cavs made some progress, but it wasn't a ton. It doesn't give us like a ton of meat on the bone just of everything else we know. But like, for Game 79, like, there's momentum, I think is what I like to call it, heading into this game against Indiana on Friday.
Well, and then this for segment one, just is there anything? I'm kind of playing devil's advocate this segment, but I'm kind of just like waiting.
I mean,
right?
No, do your thing, man. Talk your stuff.
I look, Evan, I think you know this probably better than anyone even listening. I kind of just like don't. I just kind of say what I think. I don't really care.
You've been spending too much time in New York lately.
I've just been spending too much time in therapy more than anything else. I just don't care. So I don't.
Good
Is
on
there
you.
anything they could do that would actually be like you would like look at it and be like, yes, I am now convinced that this team is fine. That like this like everything is actually okay now.
No, because I was talking. I'll keep them anonymous. Before the game about this, and I'm just like, this team is so weird to like kind of evaluate because like they could get bounced in the first round, and either it's like the Knicks where they maybe win a game but they get crushed, or they just somehow go on a run. Like the Cavs are just such an odd team to fully evaluate, and I think you're a liar if you think you can fully figure out what they are right now because they don't even think they know what they are right now.
Yeah, I just think it skews more. I just think that the overwhelming evidence the last 2 weeks just doesn't skew towards like there's a run in them. Like that to me is kind of like I think where I differ is just I don't think they've shown us anything since the All-Star break that makes me think they can just like figure out a run. Maybe that's me just being a hater, but like I just don't, there's nothing that they've done
since you being a hater. It's just I think I look at the.
They just haven't done anything good, like in like weeks.
Weeks, yes. But like you think of the high points of the season, if they're able to somehow capture that feeling somehow, some way, then maybe, just maybe, they can really press a team. And I think it all just really does hinge on how healthy Donovan Mitchell is and how far he's able to carry them any night.
We will see. All right, after this, Giannis Antetokounmpo is out for the end of the regular season. What does that mean for the Cavs? We'll talk about that and the East playoff picture after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around in the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capability to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. There's class exclusive Google built-in your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder, has room for up to 8 and expansive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capacity. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing, when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes that. Check out Nissan today. They have an incredible lineup. Shop at nissanusa.com. So Giannis Antetokounmpo out for the end of the regular season. Check more on that over at Locked On Bucks.
His leg.
I'm just glad he didn't tear his Achilles as like a basketball fan.
No, that's 100%. Like I was neck deep in work the other night when friend of the program, Ty Windish, and a few other friends in a group chat I'm with were like, "Man, that Giannis injury looked brutal." And I watched it. I'm like, I'm sure it wasn't that bad. I'm like, oh, that did not look pleasant. So I'm glad it guess, it could have been worse. So we're on the same page.
So this, as far as like the rest of the season goes, it's a little bit too late for it to be like, oh, the Cavs don't have a window for them to surge up the standings. Number one, the Knicks have just been like more competent than the Cavs, and like if you look at playoffstatus.com as we're looking at this, I don't know if this has been updated based on the Wednesday slate of games, so this could be even more like pushing in the favor. But the Bucks had a 76% chance on their side as we're recording this to get the 2 seed. They beat the breaks off the Magic on Wednesday, so there's that. They are probably going to be the 2 seed with just a very little time left. Where I think this does impact the Cavs, Evan, is in segment 3 we're going to talk about, does the Cavs seed actually matter? The Bucks have a couple more games left. They play them, including a game against the Magic on the last day of the regular season. What they do in that game, like do they have the 2 seed locked up? Do they try to play through that game? Like, what do they do in that last game is going to have an impact on. It could have an impact, we should say, on where the Cavs actually end up, as they are trying to finagle their seeding vis-a-vis the Orlando Magic, vis-a-vis the Indiana Pacers, and the Knicks as well.
Yeah, I am curious, to see where things do shake up just because things are so tight. But I do think, based on how the Bucks played against the Magic without Giannis in this game, like I think the Bucks just clearly have enough sauce in their salvo, whatever you want to call it, just to kind of get them over the edge and get them that 2 seed. They survive this roll without Giannis. They get a couple days off before the real start of the postseason because of the play-in tournament and everything. Maybe they can get Giannis back sooner rather than later, which, if you're Milwaukee, that's like the most ideal outcome you can get. But more importantly, I think just now, like if the Cavs take care of business against Indiana on Friday, I am curious to see. It's going to be Orlando or Indiana at this point if the Cavs beat Indiana on Friday, and then assumedly take care of business against the very bad Hornets who happen to be the Hawks on Sunday. But
who I just want to say for the record, the Cavs did recently lose to. For whatever that's worth, they did lose to the Hornets recently.
Except for whatever that's worth, there's just a lot of weirdness surrounding this Cavs team. That's what makes me like a little hesitant to say like that they are like completely done. But either way, looking ahead, like depending on how the Bucks do against the Magic, that could push things further down the totem pole, at least to give the Cavs a little bit more breathing room. And like makes the Pacers their playoff opponent. And let's say the Magic pull it off and the Magic win their next 2 and the Cavs go 1-1 in their next series. Like the Cavs could host Orlando in the first round. And then we've had this debate a lot. Like, would you rather have Indiana or Orlando? And I think you'd rather have Orlando because the Cavs have enough defensive juice to clamp down that very bad Magic offense. And
theoretically they do, because the defense has not been good the last couple weeks. So like, no, I don't know what's up with that, but
theoretically, and they have the pieces to do so. But also, like, if you really want to ramp Donovan Mitchell up, I feel like you want to play the better defensive team, because like if you really want to get him rolling in the playoffs and like we're really going to test the limit of his knee, maybe you really want to like build that endurance and strength against the Magic, or you draw the Pacers, who have like the worst defense in basketball.
Yeah, wouldn't you want him just to like shred the Pacers? Wouldn't you want him just like hunting Tyrese Halliburton to get in a rhythm? I think that would be easier than like, hey, attack Jalen Suggs like 900 times.
Jalen Suggs is out for the season, dude.
Jalen Suggs is
No, he's not.
It's Franz Wagner.
Franz Wagner, and then who's the Magic player that like blew out their knee against the Cavs?
He got hurt and but it wasn't that bad.
Oh, I thought he was out for the season. Okay, well, I was wrong. Go ahead. You can do your little loud ha again.
I'm not. I already did it. I'm just thinking. I don't think like the series. Like Orlando has like a crappy.
It'd be
offense.
grimy. It'd be ugly. I think the Cavs. I think in either matchup, the Cavs at least have to feel like they're the favorite, but the Pacers would be a good way to kind of set the table. But also, like, Indiana terrifies me because they're a team that is 2-1 on the season against Cleveland right now. Cleveland could tie things up on Friday, but that also could have implications too if the Cavs drop that game on Friday against Indiana too. Like, that's a completely different conversation, the one I haven't entertained mentally yet.
The other thing I would just say, and this is like looking far too ahead for a Cavs team that has not proven they deserve this, but if the Cavs like were to like, the odds are they're not going to get the 3 seed at this point.
In fact, like 4. They are listed. It's going to be New York at 3.
Yeah, I mean, the odds have it as this as I'm looking at it. 19% chance of the Cavs getting the 2 seed, 16% chance of getting the 3 seed, and 34% chance of getting the 4 seed, 23% of the 5 seed. So there's that. And like, theoretically, they could fall to 6 or 7, but like those percentages are much, much lower, particularly at 7. At least as this current model, maybe that'll look different in the morning if it's not currently updated. I don't know when they turn this over. Getting to the 3 seed in a world where Giannis, like, maybe, I don't know what that's going to look like. If you told me, like, that is, like, your way to, like, finagle a run in the playoffs because you somehow got the 3 seed, that would be a dub. But, Evan, I think that's a good point for us to transition and get into segment 3, which is, does the seed actually matter for the Cavs? Considering what the last several weeks have been, does whatever seed they're going to end up with actually matter? We'll talk about that up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. That's the official sportsbook of Locked On. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockdown and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, so Evan, does the Cavs being the 3 seed or the 4 seed or whatever seed like they get, does where they actually end up actually matter to you for this team at this point?
Well, yes. If Cleveland really wants to make that Eastern Conference Finals run, now considering that the Bucks have a not 100% Giannis Antetokounmpo, ideally speaking, you'd rather face a more banged up Bucks squad than you would the Celtics in the second round, which I'm still processing the Drew Holiday extension. Good for Drew for getting that bag. I question the length of it. I don't know the full terms. I just saw the number and I'm like, wow, that's a lot for a guy in his 30s. But
they finagled next year so his number's lower and they save money on the cap. So like it's keeping the window open for like at least another year with that core. They did the math. They math.
Okay, they did the math. Good for them. But like if you were somehow to pull the 3 seed and you drew Milwaukee in the second round, like, yeah, I think that'd be a little more ideal if you're Cleveland, but versus playing Boston. But no, seeding doesn't really matter because also like the Miami Heat made the NBA Finals as an 8 seed last year, and they fought valiantly against the Denver Nuggets, but it doesn't matter really what position you are. Yeah, the matchups can play a part in it, but it really just more so matters, how healthy you are too. If the Cavs are healthier, it makes it a little easier for them to kind of try their darndest, come playoff.
I guess if just everything was rolling for them, I would say it mattered because like I would be like, oh, okay, you want to like obviously you just don't want to be in the Celtics.
Well, if everything was rolling for them, they'd be the 2 seed. So
right, so like, but this is kind of the point to me. It's like I don't know if like any of this is gonna matter. I think like it feels very possible that this is just gonna like end and you're gonna be like, what just happened? Like,
yeah. And let me ask you this: will your opinion change at all based on the outcome on Friday's game, or no? Like, if they play similarly to how they did in the second half against the Grizzlies for an entire game, and like Mitchell is showing more signs that he's kind of getting ready to pop off a little bit, does that change your feeling at all? You're like, I don't know, that West Coast road trip's still in the rear view, and this entire post All-Star break up and down topsy-turviness, or the general topsy-turviness this season, kind of trumps that.
I think if Mitchell starts scoring on 2s and getting to the rim and all of that, I would be like, great. But
we should mention real quick, Garland did make a concerted effort to attack the basket against the Grizzlies. I will tip my cap to him. He was trying to attack the basket. Like, I'm like, you know what? He's very hesitant to do that for a while, and like now he's starting to show a little bit of like a drive and maybe a little less fear to attack the basket. But let's jump back to Don. Sorry.
Well, there's also times with Darius where it's like he does that, and then like the next game it's like, what are you doing, Darius? Like, are you moving? Like, what? Like, there's no consistency or rhyme or reason for this team since the All-Star break. So like, no, like I don't, one game towards the end of the regular season, even if they're saying you get the quote of playoff stakes, like, no, like everything has been so horrendous since the All-Star break that I'm just like, why should why should one game sway me anymore? Unless Donovan just immediately looks like a guy that he hasn't been in months because of his injuries, then maybe that. But even then, I want to see that. Like, I'm gonna need to see that next weekend. Like, once you get to April 20th or April 21st, whenever they're gonna play, like that's kind of the deal more than anything else. There's nothing they can really do for me that would really sway where I feel like this is going at this point, frankly. And I think the biggest bummer is it is a bummer, right? Like for them, it is a disappointment because you had a window, you were playing great, even with all the injuries. It has not clicked since everyone came back. No one has stayed healthy since then. You've had weird years from 2 of your young cornerstones. Your best player, whose future no one really kind of knows what's going to happen, that might be dependent on this year, has gone a weird way, and he didn't even get to the 65-game threshold where he would have been All-NBA had he made that 65-game threshold.
Well,
and now you're staring down just something weird where it's like, okay, whether you're the 4 seed, whether you're the 5 seed, whether you somehow like end up as the 3 seed and it works out for you that way, like you're just facing a really, really hard path. And I think it's just like they kind of lost any benefit of the doubt. They probably lost out in the playoffs last year, but I think they've especially lost it since the All-Star break. And I also just like, if you're the 4 seed, congratulations. Maybe you slug through a really grimy Orlando series that will be hard, like a lot to parse through, but then you're probably like the Grim Reaper's waiting for you after that anyway.
Grim Reaper is the Boston Celtics in the situation.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in agreement then. Yeah, I think obviously Boston's the team you want to avoid the most, but my question was just, I didn't read what Mark Stein had to say, but I did see that he said that ballot voters will get a corrected ballot based on just the weirdness of the season. So Mitchell could qualify, but I do know like the Cavs are promoting JB as coach of the year, Karras as sixth man of the year, and Allen in a overall defense, which like, yeah, I get the gist of the players. I'm gonna, like JB's a little, but
I'm gonna say something that Evan, that I'm gonna be very upfront about this. This is not what I'm gonna say. I don't want you to take as like me picking at you. I'm gonna pick at the Cavs when I say this. I want to be very clear about that. They're doing their job to do that stuff. Like none of those guys, like maybe Okoro for all defense, but like I'm sorry, Karis LeVert has no business.
That's all those. That's all. Well, he did for a hot second, but like
yeah, but he doesn't. Yeah. JB Biggerstaff doesn't get a coach of the, like I'm sorry, like you fall the way you did. You don't get any of it, you know? Like you don't. And that I'm sorry, that's just like there's repercussion. When your team sucks
there's
for
no
weeks.
Need to apologize. Like, and like you said, they are doing their job on a PR side of things.
Yeah, the communications team is getting their paychecks, but like it's this is all dependent on what this looks like between April 20th or 21st and like May 7th, and to me the seed doesn't matter anymore. It's just like, okay, can you like win a series, and what does it look like? And does it give you any kind of energy that tells you this is like heading in the right direction when it has felt like for weeks this is heading off the cliff?
Yeah, and the thing is I don't know, or at least I hope for my sake, like I'd like to be busier. I mean, I don't mind, like the weather's, besides the rain right now, the weather's great. If I have to start golfing sooner, that's fine, but that means I have to cut the grass and do more domestic responsibilities around here. But I would at least hope that the Cavs have another gear in them to hit the postseason in stride. But I totally understand like your reservations and just maybe your hesitation on like saying like,
but do you think they have
the sauce?
Do you think they have it in them? Like,
I said my stance. Yeah. I will not be surprised if they get bounced in the first round and lose in 4 or 5 games. I also would not be surprised if they somehow just sneak into the Eastern Conference Finals because they just get hot and everything starts clicking again for them, because they're just such a weird team, and I don't know how to evaluate them, because when they're bad, they're really bad. But when they're like hitting, they're really good. And a lot of it is the Garland Mitchell stuff. I think that's going to be an ongoing issue, like whatever. But I am just, throwing caution to the wind, and I'm waiting to see what happens. Like I'm going to be cautiously optimistic because it helps us, at least in terms of talking about this team for 5 days a week. But right now, like, I don't know. I just throw my hands up and say, show me what you got. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think we're like in the same place. I think I would say this. I am just like I'm pretty comfortable in like in talking about this. I think there's a lot of interest in just when you are in no man's land. Like sure, like would it be cool if they went great and like made a finals run? Like yeah, that'd be cool to talk about. Or made an Eastern Conference Finals run. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool to talk about that. But like there's just, if you're looking at teams over the next several weeks that have a lot at stake for like what the future of their franchise is looking at, whether it's good or bad or somewhere in the middle, Cavs are extremely high up on that list.
Yeah, yeah, they're very high on the list, and it's again like we don't know what's going to happen in these playoffs. We also don't know what's going to happen this summer either. Like, I know everyone's calling for JP Bickerstaff's job, but there could be a world where he is the coach of the Cavs next year too.
We'll get to that when we get to that. All right, that's going to be it for today's Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. I'll be here on Friday with Tony East of Locked On Pacers. We're going to do a crossover to look more at the Eastern Conference playoff picture. What would that matchup look like? And frankly, does anyone even have a chance of making a run at Boston? I'm going to say no. I would also say this. Here's the one way the seed actually does matter. I want to just say this, like, because these teams didn't come up and they probably should have. If it means you don't play the Sixers or the Heat in run one, I think that's better.
Oh, yeah. Especially now that Embiid's back, or it's just because the Heat are the Heat. Especially with Butler and Adebayo, like two guys that can hit those pressure points that make you really uncomfy. Like, yeah, if you drew the magic of the Pacers, all things considered with the crap the Cavs have had to deal with, like, it's an ideal outcome in the grand scheme of it all.
Yeah, ideal would have just been like being good, but you take what you can get, I guess. We're gonna end there. I'll be here with Tony East on Friday. We'll have a recap of Cavs Pacers for you Saturday morning as well. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday and enjoy the hoops, or hopefully you get better hoops next time you watch.